Justice Merchan just issued an order allowing Donald Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, to be present with Donald Trump at Donald Trump's first meeting with his probation officer. Donald Trump will be meeting soon with a probation officer. So in light of that, I thought it would be helpful to share with you what Donald Trump can expect at that first visit with the probation officer. So Julie Holmes, a law enforcement professional who served as a probation officer, explained what the process is like, including the fact that Donald Trump will have to give a DNA sample. He'll have to discuss his drug use, his drug habits, a lot of other requirements. Let me just break it down. This is how Julie Holmes describes it. So your probation officer, or Donald Trump's probation officer, is going to introduce themselves to Donald Trump and take you into their office. The first item that will usually be discussed is the court order, which lists the offenses, the length of probation, the fees and costs, and anything else the court specifically orders. The offender reads through the court order with the probation officer and signs and dates it. Next is the terms and conditions of probation. Usually a probation officer will go through each and every condition verbally with the felon and have them initial each condition, indicating that they had also read the conditions as well as heard them verbally. Then the offender would sign at the bottom of the terms and conditions document. And of course, we'll report to you what those terms and conditions are at the MeidasTouch network. Next, the probation officer will take a DNA sample from the felon and prepare to send it to the appropriate division. Persons with felony convictions are often always required to provide these DNA samples. That varies state to state. The DNA, but that will take place in New York for sure. Usually it could be saliva, and then they will then kind of be submitted. Next, the probation officer assesses the offender's level of supervision, which could tell the probation officer whether the offender will need to be seen monthly, weekly, twice a month. You will go into that type of assessment will be made prior to meeting with a probation officer, and this exists in New York as well. The felon would have to complete several written self-assessments on drug and alcohol use. The probation officer would look at the assessments to get a general idea of where the offender was, and when it comes to alcohol and drugs and the type of mentality that they have. They will also have to self-report their criminal history. So the fact that Donald Trump has been convicted or has been found civilly liable for sexual assault. Donald Trump's been found civilly liable for civil fraud. The Trump organization that Donald Trump leads has been found criminally liable for over a dozen felonies that will all go into the assessment that will be made. There will be assessments of possession of drugs, assessment of intoxication, assessment of whether the person's under the influence of anything. There will be an assessment of mental health issues regarding Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will be asked about mental health issues. And what will be discussed, of course, is we've discussed a lot of the potential cognitive issues that Donald Trump at least has or exhibits. The probation officer goes over the fees and costs with the offender and what they will ultimately be. And if Donald Trump misses a payment, there can be serious ramifications there. Then the probation officer will take time to speak to the offender about themselves, how the offenses occurred, their living conditions, their family and family relationships, their mental health and alcohol and or drug use, whether or not they feel they need treatment, the benefits of treatment, employment, income, hobbies, and the likes, and their thoughts on any potential victim. The offender often will have an opportunity to ask questions that they have. and there could be a dialogue there. The probation officer can give the offender treatment referrals. Oftentimes the offender will be given all of the copies of everything, and then they will be free to go. And that's often what a first assessment is.
Growing up, cereal is one of the best parts of being a kid, but as I got older, I had to watch out for sugar and empty carbs. Magic Spoon has the amazing flavors you love, but high protein and less sugar. Like with the variety pack, 4 flavors are cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. This pack has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Only 140 calories a serving. It's high protein, has 0 grams of sugar. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. I'm a sucker for the cocoa cereal personally, and when I have my Magic Spoon, I always know it's going to be high quality, fresh, crunchy, and you got to love that chocolate milk the cereal makes when you're done with your bowl. Go to magicspoon.com/Meidas to grab a variety pack and try it today. Be sure to use our promo code Meidas at checkout to save $5 off your order. And Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. Remember, start your day off right with a delicious bowl of high protein cereal at magicspoon.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas, that's MEIDAS, to save $5 off. Thank you, Magic Spoon, for sponsoring this episode.
The probation officer will submit a report to Justice Merchan, make an assessment of Donald Trump based on that meeting, based on Donald Trump's history, based on Donald Trump's other crimes, well, the Trump Organization's crimes, other things where Donald Trump's been found civilly liable. And a report will be prepared to Justice Merchan. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office, they will prepare a report to Justice Merchan. Donald Trump's lawyers will prepare a report to Justice Merchan, and a lot of that will go into sentencing as well. You take a look as well at the page with New York's frequently asked questions about kind of what to expect and what are the rights as a probation client. It says you have the right to be treated in a respectful and professional manner. How often do you have to report to the probation officer? Like I said, it's going to be determined by that probation officer. What happens if you don't report? A failure to report may be a violation of the probation, which can then result in additional prison time for Donald Trump. And we'll see what his prison sentence is at the sentencing. Will the probation officer make random visits to the home? Yes. The probation officers have the legal right to make unannounced visits to Donald Trump's residence. Yes, Donald Trump will have to give a DNA sample because he was convicted of a felony. Is Donald Trump required to work under probation supervision? Probation requires that you work or attend school or vocational programs. What about community service? You must complete the amount of community service hours ordered by the court. So I think that's what we can expect right there. I think the big question, of course, is Donald Trump going to serve prison time here? I think the answer is, I think Justice Merchan is going to sentence Donald Trump to prison. The question is, will that be served at Rikers or will that be served in a home confinement? The things that Justice Merchan will consider, which will also be submitted by the probation department, is also, one, is Donald Trump taking accountability? He's obviously not. Is Trump showing remorse? He's obviously not. You have to look at the seriousness of the offense. And this is a very serious falsification of business records. But assuming you said it's it's serious, but maybe you could just have probation, which I disagree with. But Donald Trump's, the Trump Organization has already been found to be a felon organization for engaging in tax fraud. So that would make any decision of just probation to say, no, there's got to be a prison sentence. Donald Trump's behavior inside the courtroom, when the indictment was brought, right before the indictment was brought, everything, including Donald Trump holding the baseball bat to Alvin Bragg's head, that will be brought up. Donald Trump's constant violations of the gag order, Donald Trump being found in contempt 10 separate times. That will all be considered in the sentencing. And so I don't think there's any way for Justice Merchan not to give Donald Trump a prison sentence. We know from what Mayor Adams has already said, they have Rikers Island prepared for Donald Trump should Justice Merchan order Donald Trump to Rikers. And look, Justice Merchan is a law and order judge. If you watch Political Beatdown, even as Michael Cohen said, for anyone saying that Justice Merchan is not going to do that, what are you basing that on? Justice Merchan shows that he's just someone who follows the law. No matter what the law is, he follows it. So if you take all of these factors that I just listed, there seems to be no way to not put Donald Trump in prison. Now, whether that's home confinement or whether that is actually being in a prison, I think that's the question. But, you know, where I think it should be is I think Trump should be in prison. I think he should be in prison for, in my view, at least 2 years for this. And I think he should serve his sentence immediately. There needs to be accountability right here. And I think that's what should be ordered. If Donald Trump was anybody else who behaved that way, I think that's what they would get. 2 years. I think it should be more. But I think 2 full years in prison and Rikers. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. We're on our way to 3 million. Thank you.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.